Southern California, yeah.
Born and raised our DNA. Laugh and cry to what we say. We hit you with that wordplay.
4053.
What episode are we on? D, they feeling like they be zombies, all dressed in Abercrombie.
SoCal DNA coming in live. 8 o'clock on a Wednesday night. COVID got you sitting inside. Why not sip one and free your mind?
Cheap thrills, popping pills, stat cash, spend it fast.
Listen to all of Thong's lies as Arjun act like he's surprised.
All right, looks like you're back on there. All right, we're probably gonna have to edit this anyways. I don't know what happened before, but in any case, Leroy is on. So Don, maybe you can do a little bit of sound check.
Yo, what's up, Leroy? How are you, man?
What's up, Don? All good?
Good.
Sorry this is late. I fell asleep
man.
next to my daughter.
Hey, dude, I can't complain. That's you're one step ahead of both of us for sure.
There you go. You go.
It might not be a good thing at sometimes.
Yeah. How old
Take
is
your time.
how old is she?
2.5.
Oh,
She
yeah.
is-
So terrible twos are coming. They're in full force, aren't they?
Oh, dude, she talks so much. She talks a lot. She talks back. She talks.
Oh man.
Oh, dude, you got a problem on your hands, then. That's once she becomes 18, you got a problem, bro.
Oh yeah, she's sweet though. So It's
Oh,
all
you know,
good.
that's the sweetest are the most dangerous.
yeah, well, I know.
That's how
I'm
Arjun gets
sure.
all the girls. All that sweetness in them.
And yeah, and he doesn't commit to any one of them.
Yeah.
He's
Oh
smart.
man. Oh man. You know it's funny. Leroy, have you heard of the Red Hot Chili Peppers? Do you know who they are?
Yeah, heard of their name before. Not their
So-
songs though.
You've heard of their name, but not the song. So recently we were reviewing this album by them, and we actually found that apparently the lead singer Anthony Kiedis, he has a liking for a lot of the younger women for some reason. Every time he's
What?
dating somebody, it's always somebody that's like 18, 19.
Because he's
And,
rich.
Yeah, that's definitely it. Yeah, I'm sure if we were all rich, we'd probably be doing the same thing.
Would we? I don't know about that. I think
Man,
It-
if you have all the success and money in the world, or not all of it, but enough to get by, knowing that you could fuck up and get away with it, why not? I don't know.
I mean, all those young girls that are there for the money anyway.
Yeah,
It's,
got-
it's,
you got
it's
plenty
a
of it.
two-way street.
Yeah, but you could burn
But I-
through it, I assume. Because
but
look,
see,
like, for every
I don't
time
know,
it plays,
yeah.
man, like especially when it's playing on K-Rock, dude, he's getting money. So like, the stream has not yet subsided. Like it hasn't calmed. That's still a strong river of flowing.
Well, I guess I look at the AK situation. AK is the initials for Anthony Kiedis, the singer. Apparently, the last, well-publicized relationship he had was with this supermodel, a supermodel that was making tons of money, and I'm sure wasn't just there to gold dig Anthony Kiedis. Maybe she was. I don't know. But isn't it a little bit different then? Like, if the one that you're with is financially independent, do you think that changes the dynamic of the relationship?
Definitely.
Oh yeah, for
Mm.
sure.
Easily, man. So when you're finding your partner, man, I would recommend trying to find someone that's independent right now, regardless of what happens in the future. If they have the independence right now, they'll carry that for the rest of their life.
So now, speaking of independence, Leroy, you have been independent in Washington. You are in a different state, my friend. you have been
shit!
in
I thought you were in
Seattle.
California.
No, he's not. He's not.
Oh,
Leroy has. How about this? Since this is the first time that Leroy has graced this podcast with
Hell yeah.
his dulcet
Thank you.
tones.
My pleasure.
Yes, it is your pleasure. Leroy, tell us a
Damn.
little bit. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us where you're from. Who are you, man? What's your story?
I mean, I was from LA. I was high school buddies with Arjun.
oh, I'm sorry, man.
What do you mean?
Oh, dude, Arjun's a terrible guy. Must
Oh
have-
no, Well, he kind of bullied me at class
Oh,
because I don't
see?
speak English well.
Oh, what a dick.
Yeah, man.
Hey, how about you tell that story, Leroy? How about you talk to them
What
about
story?
Mr. Roulette's class? Like, tell them about our moments in Mr. Roulette's calculus class, where I supposedly bullied you from time to time.
From time to time? What do you mean time to time? Day to day, you mean?
Yeah, well, okay, it's a little bit more often. You're right. So
I forgot what it was. Were you in front of me and Brian Coffey was behind us? And
so
then
Don, back in high school, we were both in the same calculus AB AP class.
Sure.
And we had this teacher at the time, Mr. Roulette, that we were both very fond of. It was a great class.
Strong name, by the way.
I know, Roulette, and he's a math teacher.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
It's meant to be.
So it was meant to be. That's right. And so we just happened to be in this group because oftentimes in this class we would be separated into groups of 4, and we'd have to work on problems together, that kind
Sure.
of thing. So very early on, I think in that first semester, I was with Leroy, this really smart kid named I think it was it Brian Coffey?
Yeah,
Not
Brian
his brother.
Coffey.
His brother was Daniel Coffey, but yes, his Brian Coffey, and somebody else, I forget who. And I think from time to time, I say time to time, Leroy says every day. I think Leroy would oftentimes like say these string of words that I think were interesting. Like it was supposed to be a curse or some kind of a like a swear word or something, and he'd be like fuck shit dog pussy shit or something like that.
Nice.
Yeah. and Brian Coffey and I would be just like hysterical. Would be like, wow, that was actually uttered. That was a English language that was actually spewed out forth. Wow. And so it was a lot of that in the beginning, but it was by no means meant to be in malice or in poor taste. It was just, I thought you were always in on it. It wasn't like us bullying you. It was more like, wow, look at this guy. He's very interesting.
Funny.
He's it was very funny, very funny. But tell Don what was the common interest that we both had initially that actually kept us as friends?
School lunch? Nah, man. Basketball. Basketball
like,
for sure.
Like, could you imagine we're both just eating food? It's like, hey, friend.
The Chinese food was good, man. That vendor.
Oh yeah,
was
I remember.
Good. Teriyaki
the
chicken,
little-
man.
Oh yes. Oh, that brings me back. Yeah, West High School.
Oh man, see, I don't know.
So Leroy and I both went to West High School in Torrance.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, Don. You cut it out a little bit there. Could you repeat
No,
that?
you too.
No, you
Arjun,
were
cut
cutting
out.
in and out, so you're gonna have to do some heavy editing.
So
man.
you blame it on other people again.
I know.
Yeah,
That's
because
that's
that's what I was gonna ask. I was like, Leroy, did you catch that where he cut out?
Nope.
It's the darndest thing. It's like wherever I am, even if I'm on my phone, I seem to cut out way more than you guys. And I think, is it the internet? Is it always my internet? It has to be.
The
right?
struggles of Santa Ana, bro. That's what it is.
It's not. It's like sometimes I'm even on the phone though on my 4G.
Well,
like my 4G's that bad. Like
T-Mobile?
AT&T's fucking.
Oh,
up.
well, AT&T's the
AT&T.
worst one, man.
How do you know, Leroy? Is that true? Is AT&T the worst one?
I don't know. I never used their internet before. I use Verizon for my phone.
Yeah,
Are you on the
Oh,
phone?
actually, what am I talking about? I use fucking Verizon. I don't use AT&T. I use Verizon 4G. See, I should know.
Well,
I should know my
is
own
AT&T
service,
your
right?
provider? Your internet provider?
No. AT&T Uverse in one place, and then I also have like I think the Spectrum. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, Spectrum.
Or,
Yeah, you're on Spectrum.
Yeah. See,
Time Warner,
Spectrum
same
should
thing.
be good because
I'm on
Spectrum is like a
Spectrum.
cable modem.
I
And
well, I
you
think
have Spectrum.
you're in a denser
Yeah.
area probably, or a lot more users probably, so you get throttled probably a little bit more, especially considering your what is it? You live in a apartment, right?
In Santa Ana, I live in a house. I
Okay.
live in an apartment in Torrance, but Torrance is a AT&T Uverse. It's kind of like
Got
it's fiber to the building, but then from the building it becomes DSL.
Sure.
So it's like a really throttled down type of speed.
Got it.
But enough about all that. So the truth is, Leroy and I, we have been friends since high school.
because of teriyaki chicken. That's what
Mostly because of food, lunches, and we actually spent many of our lunch times in one of our favorite teachers' classrooms. Leroy, do you remember who one of our favorite high school teacher was?
Miss Kim?
Miss Kim. And what did Miss Kim teach?
Was it chemistry? No, it wasn't chemistry.
No, it wasn't. It was physics. She taught physics.
Yeah.
And I don't think we were both in the regular physics class. I don't think we took her honors or
Yeah, it wasn't smart enough.
no. Leroy, him and I, we were lucky to have met and to be in a couple of classes together, and he was actually the one that got me interested in finding out who the best talent is on every team for the NBA. Prior to that, I was always just following the Lakers. It was just me thinking of, all right, who's on the Lakers? Who are these players? But when I met Leroy, I realized, all right, here's a guy that doesn't really like the Lakers in the same way that I do, but he finds rookies, he finds younger players in almost every team to root for.
Sure.
And that really opened my eyes up to the league. So I started following other teams from Toronto. I started following names that you probably don't even remember, Don, like a Andre Bloch. Do you know who that is? Andre Bloch?
He was a big man, no?
He was a big man, yeah. And apparently he was the
remember.
next Kevin Garnett. He was touted by some to be the next Kevin
There's
Garnett.
a lot of those that come up. So yeah.
There's a lot of those. That's right. And believe it or
And I
not,
started it.
he started it. That's right. You set the trend. And there was somebody else, Nick Young, who we all know is Swaggy P now. But before he was Swaggy P, Leroy actually thought he's the next Kobe Bryant.
That's what a lot of people said.
You know, and I got that from Leroy. And it's funny because Leroy, we kept in touch, even when I went to college, you went to college, different places entirely. Oftentimes I would kind of spread the information that I would get from you to my friends at UCI. And they'd be like, wow, how do you know that? Like, oh, where did you get this from? Like, oh, I have an NBA insider. I can't tell you who. And then eventually they realized, oh, it's this guy who plays in the fantasy league with us. It's this guy who typically does really well and tends to be a fan of Gerald Wallace. Now, Don, do you know who Gerald Wallace is?
He's also a big man. Or, well, kind of. He's a skinny, tall guy, no?
He's a
Skinny,
swing
tall guy.
Yeah.
He's a swinger, Don. He's a swinger.
Swing man.
Swing man. There it is. There it is. Pretty close.
After all these years, you still
After all
can't
this
understand me.
No, I can't. I just joke around.
What a dick.
I know. Man. There you go. The bullying continues.
Oh, he was a big man. Come on.
No, he wasn't. He was a forward.
Oh, okay, but he was tall enough to be considered a big man.
See, okay, Don, you fuck up a lot here because a lot of times you describe players out of position. I think you tend to think of certain players as shorter than they are.
Well, was he a
bigger.
finesse player or was he like
No,
a garbage stat guy? He's a garbage stat guy.
I wouldn't say garbage stat. He was more like a very hustle player, like a really hardworking player, but he could score. He could definitely, get you hustle stats, blocks,
he's the
steals,
guy that
rebounds.
he's the one that made the bet with Kobe for that $500,000 on the free throw.
Is that
Tell
true?
me about that story.
Yeah, tell me about.
Oh,
the
you
story,
never heard
man.
that? So Kobe was on the free throw line. This was prime Kobe, Mamba Kobe, the one where he was arguably the best player in the league and thought he was the best to ever play the game. And on the free throw line, somebody who we now know is Gerald Wallace was trying to get in his head. Was bickering at him and saying things that probably can't be said on stream. And Kobe, nonchalantly looked over him. He's like, bet $500,000. And then, sure enough, bet. And then he goes on to sink the free throw easily.
Now, let me just add a little bit of color to this because I did look up the article to verify what Don was saying. And shout out to the Oxford Student Journal. By the way. I mean, they're really on top of the shit, even from back in November 2012. It's actually not $500,000, Don. That would be a ridiculous amount of money to bet, especially for the likes of Gerald Wallace. It was only $5,000. Only $5,000.
Oh, you took away from the story now, man. Yeah, no, that
Well,
probably
I gotta keep it real.
That would have
Gotta keep it
bankrupted
real.
Wallace most likely at that point. Yeah.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. like for Wallace to have the balls to bet $500,000 on a fucking free throw. Come on, that's just ridiculous.
Well,
That's ridiculous.
That's he's a true big
I'm
man.
reading
big heart.
all different kinds of stories though. It looks like some say it was $5,000. Some say it was $500,000. I'm just reading it on Google right now.
Wow.
Could be all
so
over.
it looks like Oxford Student Journal has some competition.
Well,
Interesting.
you know.
But I will say, you may know that Gerald Wallace was on a very special team in the NBA.
Bobcats.
The Charlotte Bobcats. That's right. And you might be wondering, why would one of Leroy's favorite players ever be on the Charlotte Bobcats. Leroy, maybe you can explain to the audience what made you like the Bobcats in the beginning.
I never liked the Bobcats. What are you talking about? It was just Gerald Wallace.
You were a fan. You were
interested in Bobcats.
Okay. In other words, he did like the Bobcats. He was a fan of the Hornets. He was probably one of the few people that I knew that actually liked the Hornets as a team.
You know, I think it sounds like, to defend Leroy, it sounds like he's a fan of basketball, not particular teams. Does that sound about right?
At this age, probably. I don't have a favorite team now. I don't like the Lakers.
Oh, well, then we can't be friends, my friend.
That's fine.
No, that's what I'm here for. You can't always have friends on your podcast. You gotta have someone that disagree with you, man.
That's right. That's right. See, Don, all the time he gets his buddies like Tony to come on, just agree with him.
I had one.
Well, that's because you only have one friend. Nobody else listens to your podcast. Half the time, it's my friends like listening to the podcast. More than half the time.
Hey, go ahead.
In any case, I'm glad, Leroy, that you're here. But let's get right into it, Leroy. I know right now you're not as into the NBA as you once were, and I think a lot of us can agree with that and understand why. But let me ask you this: what do you make of this season, man? We have a reduced season, 72 games. The Lakers look like they're probably in the running to repeat. Do you think the Lakers can win? I know you hate them. I know you're not a fan of them. But is your prediction for 2021, Lakers repeating back-to-back?
I mean, it's kind of hard to say right now. It's still too early. I know that even though Clippers just lost by like 50 at half, they still have the same record as the Lakers right now.
Sure.
They're still 4-2, and the Suns is at the top of the conference with 5-1 record.
They had an easy schedule, though.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And so it's hard to say. Who knows who's going to get injured or something. I'm not saying that anyone on the Lakers is going to get a long-term injury, but it's a shorter season. It might actually be benefits them. So who knows? I don't see anyone out of the East who would take them down though. Like even Brooklyn Nets with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. I just don't think they have a chance against the Lakers though.
Well, I would argue that a team from the East has a better chance than any team in the West, primarily because you're guaranteed, if the Lakers are what they are cracked up to be, right? They are going to make the Western Conference Finals and go to the finals again. You're guaranteed to get one team out of the East to go up against them. And look what Miami was able to do. Miami pushed them in the beginning before everybody got hurt, before Bam got hurt, before Jimmy Butler sprained his ankle. They were able to do a lot of damage to the Lakers initially. And I think, given the right offensive schemes, especially with Drew Holiday, I think this may be the year Giannis and Chris Middleton and Drew, they come together, they work really well, and they make it to the finals. And I think Lakers can't really contend with that. I mean, let's think of this hypothetical. Leroy, I want to get your 2 cents on this. If it was Milwaukee Bucks versus the Lakers, how do you envision that series going?
They're going to start hacking Giannis, and Giannis can't shoot 3 throws, and they're going to lose.
Wow. You
Solid.
heard it here, folks. That was very clear. That was very blunt. That was very concise. There's not much leeway there from Leroy Tung.
Granted, I drafted Giannis for my fantasy team, but his free throw shooting is just horrible.
You can say that again. That's for sure.
So if you look at the game against Celtics, I think it was a season opener for the Bucks. They lost it because Giannis missed the 3 throws against Celtics. I don't know. I like Giannis as a player, but he just got to improve his 3-throw shooting to make some clutch shots at the very end of the game. Is much.
I hear you, but you look back at some other teams that were very good and did win multiple titles with a very bad free throw shooter as one of their best players, like Shaq. Shaq was arguably
Kobe.
Yeah, and now Giannis has both Drew Holiday and Middleton. Before he just had Middleton.
Comparing those two to Kobe?
Yeah, I was going to ask that same question.
Come on. No, because think about it this way. Don't you think that Drew Holiday adds another dimension to this Bucks team?
Oh yeah, definitely, but not Kobe
Because
is in a
as
different
much as we
planet.
like Middleton, I think Middleton's solid.
Well,
No, but see, I'm not really making the comparison between Kobe's talent and Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton's talent. What I'm saying is, here you have a team with the Lakers, right,
Yeah.
where one of their best players is a horrible free throw shooter, but time and time again, they're able to win games and beat teams. So there is a way that can happen, and it's not always just Kobe bailing them out because
well,
Hack-a-Shaq was happening.
there was
Shaq
depth.
was
There was depth to those Lakers. You have to
ah
also
ah
remember.
ah. Now let's think about this. Who else plays on the Bucks? Who are the interesting players in Milwaukee? This is a genuine
Vincenzo, Di Vincenzo. What's that dude's name?
question. I think
Di-
Dante. Is it
DiVincenzo.
DiVincenzo. That's right. That's right. I mean, they got some guys. As I'm desperately looking at their
look
roster.
it up. Look it up.
They have
I'm-
crazy eye Portis.
See, they got Bobby Portis now. We were just
They
talking about him before.
He can start a fight with 80 and then take him out.
There you go. There
That's
you
the
go.
way.
See, these guys, they have options
Oh,
left and right.
They got
as I'm-
Brooke, of course. So Brooke is solid.
They got
uh,
Bryn Forbes. No, listen. Bryn Forbes is like a solid shooter from the Spurs, and he comes from the Greg Popovich pedigree.
Sure.
So that's helpful.
Okay.
And I think you mentioned Brooke Lopez again, but I'll mention him a third time. Brooke Lopez, decent stretch five, shot
There's
blocker.
two DJs.
They have two DJs right there, so the
DJ
sound is
Augustine
good,
and
man.
DJ Wilson. They
You
have
know, you
Giannis' brother.
That's right. You got DJs on the ones and twos. You got Giannis's bro. You got a lot of people, a lot of bodies on this team. A lot of death. A lot of death, man. A lot of death. You feel me? A lot of death. So the way I look at it, even if Giannis is getting hacked, I think as long as you have two capable ball handlers like a Drew Holiday and Middleton, that's enough to compensate for whatever tragic flaw, Achilles heel in Giannis's game that exists.
Well, let me
Now-
ask you this though. I don't want. Oh, sorry, I disrupt you. But let's say if they start heading Shaq, and Kobe is able to step up at the last 2 minutes of the game, who is that other character on this Bucks team?
Middleton has been pretty clutch, actually. If you look back
Really?
at the last couple of years, I think Middleton has had more fourth quarter, game winning or kind of fourth quarter points in general.
Yeah, and
Than
he's been a
Giannis at
solid
times.
scorer, sometimes leading the scoring ring.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Come
I
on,
wouldn't-
Leroy, you should know this.
I
You
wouldn't
should know
trust
this
it
stuff.
though. I
Come
wouldn't
on.
trust it, especially if you're going to compare it to Kobe. Like, come on, there's no
No,
one.
see, that's the thing. That's the fallacy that you're pushing. I'm actually not saying
Well,
that, these guys are as talented as Kobe, even in the clutch. What I'm really arguing is you can have a top player on your team that has a flaw, like bad free throw shooting, and still make it all the way to the finals and still even win a title. That's really the point that I'm trying to drive home here. And if you look back at even like other teams in the past, right? Haven't there always been big men that were really dominant, like a Bill Russell, for instance, that couldn't really shoot free throws, yet that team can make it all the way to the finals and even win multiple titles together. So it doesn't always matter that you have this one player who's abysmal at free throw shooting. And if we're perfectly honest, how bad is Giannis? Is he as bad as Ben Wallace? No. Is he as bad as Shaq? No. He's
You
not.
can't bring up Ben Wallace like that.
Why not?
Ben Wallace is dominant in different levels, in different aspects.
Giannis is a better player than Ben Wallace ever was.
I can't disagree on that though. I agree with you on that.
yeah.
So there you go. There you go. Your point is
But it's
completely
different.
eliminated.
It's
That
completely-
Detroit Piston team was a different.
Yeah,
It was a different setup. It's like a team effort thing.
Yeah.
This is a team effort too.
That was,
Don't you see the three-headed monster in Drew Holiday, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and
So,
Chris Middleton?
Are you gonna put your money on them taking the East?
Ooh, well, no, you should. It should be a different bet. You should say that the Giannis is gonna beat the Lakers.
Well, yeah, that was gonna be the next step. Because
Oh,
if he has enough
Go ahead.
faith for them to take the East, then surely he has enough faith for them to take the whole thing.
No, I don't think they're gonna take the whole thing. I don't think they're gonna make it out of the East.
But you
But
think
I'm
that-
saying
This-
this particular year,
Sure.
I think Giannis is the best shot because of Drew Holiday.
Which
I
makes-
place
okay.
a lot of trust in Drew Holiday helping this Bucks team make it past the hump that Giannis couldn't get over for the past 4 years of his career. Now,
Mm.
what I'd like to see is a epic Eastern Conference Finals matchup between the Bucks and the Brooklyn Nets. Prior to this season, I didn't give a damn about KD. I was not too fond of him off the court or on the court, even though I respected his game immensely. Now that I drafted him in one of the fantasy teams, I am looking at him a little bit more. I'm making sure he's healthy at least. He's not getting hurt again. He looks good out there. He looks pretty much like he used to when he was on the Warriors. Yeah. So
maybe a quarter step slower, but just as precise.
Yeah, maybe a little bit slower. You're right. Maybe not as sharp or quick or agile, but it's mostly there. 80% approximation, I'd say. Now, I think if Kyrie's healthy at that point, if KD is still healthy, and let's say Dinwiddie's not coming back, unfortunately. I think he's out for the season.
What happened to him?
He tore up his ACL, right?
Oh,
I think yeah, man. Yeah, it's pretty bad. And that's a big blow.
Dinwiddie, right?
Dinwiddie, yeah, man.
Damn.
Yeah.
That was their trade bait for another player.
Not necessarily.
All right, you cut in and out. Right
I think their best trade bait. What's that?
Yeah, you cut in and out again, man.
Yeah, you cut out again.
Oh man, and I don't even want to upload this one, guys. This...
Dinwiddie. Go ahead. It wasn't too bad. Go ahead.
I think really the main trade chip that they have, if they want to get a third star, is Caris LeVert. Caris LeVert, probably on a different team with enough minutes, he can be as good, if not better, than SGA. And I know that's kind of a hot take.
Yeah.
That's a wild take, but I want to get your thoughts on that. I was starting with you, Leroy. What do you think of Caris LeVert, given the reins, right? Given full reins of the team, how good can he be?
I don't know. If he doesn't get injured, he's too injury prone. He gets injured all the time.
Does he really? I didn't even know that.
So I'm just looking at his season averages. He played 40 games in 18-19 season, 45 games in 19-20 season. So he seems to be healthy this time, but
so he's hurt half the season, given history.
Yep.
Oh.
I mean, he is young though, isn't he? It's like, he's 26 already,
which is even more problematic.
Yeah. So I mean, he's a nice trade piece, but to what team though? You need to see. So who's gonna bet their future on the 26 years old who's always injured?
Charlotte Hornets.
They have Gordon Hayward now, who is also injury prone. Yeah,
on a ridiculous contract too.
Yeah, but he's doing pretty well on this team right now.
I'm surprised that the Hornets are as constructed this way. It's like, what are they trying to do? Why is Hayward even there? Number one, I feel like Hayward's not the type of player you want for a young team. I think Hayward makes more sense to me if you're trying to win a title, right?
Oh, as that one extra scorer that you need.
He's a guy that can do everything on the court, right? Like going back from the Jazz days, he's a playmaker, he's a scorer. I don't really consider him a great defender, but he can play defense at times. I look at him as somebody who's more impactful on a team that's a playoff contender. But for the Hornets to get him, especially when you have a guy like LaMelo Ball, who has been stringing together some good games as of late, right? But you need him to become a franchise point guard. How do you do that with Gordon Hayward there? How do you do that, for that matter, with Devontae Graham still there, with Terry Rozier still there? It almost seems like the Hornets, as constructed, they don't really have an identity to me. I don't know what they're doing. Leroy, as a former fan of the team, because I know you no longer claim fandom for the Hornets. You're ashamed of that for some reason. What do you think the Hornets are trying to do?
Well, first of all, I don't think they should put LaMelo in a position where he is gonna fail. So it's actually good having some veterans on the team that can start in front of him and just let him do whatever when it comes to on the court. So which is good. Hayward, I know. Back when I was still a fan, they were trying to sign him before, like a couple of years back before he went to Boston. Was it a trade to Boston? I forgot what it was, but when he was trying to leave.
Yeah.
I see. So yeah, before he was trying to leave Utah, actually the Hornets was trying to sign him when Kimba was still around. Um, I kind of get what they're trying to do. Since you draft Lamelo Ball, you gain so much attention nationwide right now. I mean, it doesn't hurt to bring in another name that could actually improve the team record, right? Because I mean, but they're always in this circle where they can't draft well enough in terms of both position or the prospects. So bringing in Hayward might not be the best thing for the future, but as of right now, I think it's good to provide some kind of a stability to the team, even without an identity. For a small market team like this is really hard to create an identity if they missed out on like guys like Anthony Davis or generational talent. It's just hard. So if you have the money to spend, why not? Because I doubt any other team is going to give Gordon Hayward 30 millions a year for 4 years.
Nobody would have.
Yeah.
That's why people balked when he declined that player option he had with Boston.
Yeah, it was crazy. But I think it was
Well-
mutual though, because he doesn't want to stay on the Boston Celtics.
I think the only reason he declined is because he knew he would have a sweeter offer from Mitch Kupchak. I think if that was never in the cards, think about it. If that was never in the cards, he would be an idiot to decline
That's
that
true.
much money from the Celtics.
Sure.
That's
So
true.
I think really what it comes down to here is the age-old conversation about small market teams not being able to keep any guys. They have to pay the most money just to keep a guy who's rather mediocre when you think about it, like a Gordon Hayward. Hayward is not a top-tier talent. He's second-tier. I think he can be a good second-tier player. But if that's the best that the Hornets can do, and you're going to tie up all that money just to kind of keep him around and to give you some kind of, reputation as a team that's trying to get better, that's really disappointing. I find it as a microcosm, as a warning story, if you will, for other small market teams. Is this the best that they can hope for? Like, you can't expect real success in a small market. You can only expect to hold on to these guys that are overpaid and overvalued and draft these young guns that sometimes work out, and if they do, they get traded to other places or they sign elsewhere. It's really pathetic being a fan of the Charlotte Hornets. That's what I'm trying to say. And I can understand, Leroy, why you no longer are a fan of them. They disappointed you time and time again, and of course they traded away, or they didn't pay enough money to one of your favorite players, Kemba Walker.
Kemba Walker, man.
I know.
And they used the same money to sign Terry Rozier.
Yeah.
Ah, man. But you kind of like Terry, right? You're a fan of
I
Terry?
don't.
You don't. Oof, that was very, very bold, very decisive no for
Do
Terry.
you like
Rozier.
Rozier?
Not really. I don't really care for. I mean, I don't care for like 90% of the players in the NBA.
Sure.
Uh,
If they're not on
Of course
your
I-
fantasy team, you care less. Yeah.
if they're on my fantasy team, then I'm slightly interested. I hope them well. I wish them well. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. But Terry Rozier, like I said, the Hornets, they have too many guards, too many ball handlers, too many playmakers. I disagree with you, Leroy. I think it makes more sense for LaMelo to be thrown into the fire. Let him work. Let him run with everybody. Let him play like 30 minutes a night and really get his feet wet.
How many minutes is he playing? I thought he was only averaging like high 20s.
I think probably about mid-20s, maybe on average. It's increasing though. I think he's getting more minutes now than he did in the first couple games. But I'd like to see him just be the starter. Yeah, have the keys to the offense. See what you can do. Because look, you burned like a second overall or third overall pick on the guy. Why baby him? I don't really agree with the philosophy that you got to make sure he learns how to play the game from these veteran players. Well, look at Trae Young. Look at what Trae Young was able to do. What veteran player was he learning from that first year? Right?
2K. He was learning from 2K.
Exactly.
That's a good one.
Exactly. And LaMelo, he's pretty much going to be on the cover of 2K, probably the current gen edition for the 2K22.
The discounted
You know what I
one
mean?
when it goes 50% off.
Oh yeah, when it's free, when it's a free game on PS Plus, those monthlies they got, right? It's just one of those things where I'm always a believer that rookies should play. They're young, they got their legs,
Especially
don't
first
wait
rounders.
especially top 3 picks, man. Especially top 3 picks. But Leroy, what do you think of LaMelo Ball in general? Do you like his game? Do you find him annoying? What's your deal?
I don't watch him enough to comment on that.
Yeah,
great
now I don't
analysis.
think he's made any splashes media wise, right? It's been strictly basketball for him, which is fantastic, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's probably one of the most how do I put it? He is not making as much noise as Lonzo was,
Yeah.
which is good. I mean, good for LeVar.
Yeah, and it
He's
was
not
supposed
doing
to.
any stupid things. Yeah.
Yeah, because he's the promised child. He's supposed to be the better one of the three. So
He looks better, like from a couple highlights
Yeah.
that I've seen from for the couple of games he played for the Hornets. He looks pretty poised. He's confident,
mhm.
and back to your point, Arjun, it's actually good that he is not as covered as Lonzo was, because Lonzo was actually really nervous when he was playing for the Lakers.
Mhm.
LaMelo is not put in a position to do that, which is good for him. And from all the reports that the Hornets was giving, he's actually a pretty good. He's pretty hardworking.
Mm.
So I mean, it's good. So we'll see. We'll see if he's gonna have a better career than Lonzo did.
I think there's a good chance. I think if
Oh, you're gonna do your boy Lonzo like that, man?
no, I think I'm objective. It's not doing my boy Lonzo in any way. I'm not taking your bait, Don.
I'm just saying you're so hyped on Lonzo, and as am I. I'm growing to learn and appreciate.
No, I think Don, you gotta pump your brakes and let me finish my point.
Oh, okay.
So
all right.
I think LaMelo Ball as a rookie, I agree with you, Leroy, that because he doesn't have that same scrutiny that his elder brother did, I think he has an advantage there because he'll be able to, like I say, do the trial by fire, but not really get burned as much. He's not going to have the Patrick Beverleys of the world serving him up on day one. He's going to have a little bit more room to wiggle. He's likely going to be a better offensive weapon than his brother will ever be because they're built differently. You look at all three. You look at all three Ball brothers, right? Lonzo was always the better playmaker of the three. He was the better overall player in terms of, he's going to play some defense. He's going to rebound the ball. He's going to give you some dimes. He's perfectly content, even back in his UCLA days, letting other people shine. To this day, it's the same way. He loves it when Josh Hart gets a three off of his dime. He loves it when Ingram is diving in for that bucket. He loves it when Zion's finishing with the alley-oop. LaMelo Ball has been different. I mean, you guys remember back when he was in Lithuania, back when he was even in high school in Chino Hills, what was he known for? He was the kid that would go off for like 90 points in a high school game. He was a scorer. LaMelo Ball is a different kind of player than Lonzo.
Sure.
So in terms of career success, oftentimes we place more importance on points scored because that's a better, not really better, but that's a more popular statistic.
Sure.
You look at how many points a rookie has scored. I would argue that it's possible LaMelo scores more points in total in the shortened 72-game season than Lonzo has scored in his first 2 years in the NBA.
Whoa.
Combined. And that's a trend that'll continue. I honestly think LaMelo Ball will be more of a Trae Young type of player, a higher scorer. Of course, he'll drop dimes simply because he has the ball in his hand, while Lonzo will be more of a well-rounded, better defender, better rebounder type of player for all of his career. They're different. So it's not like I'm underselling one or giving up on Lonzo by any means. I'm just kind of seeing it for what it is. I think LaMelo's talents are more like a popular point guard like a Trae Young. Lonzo's different. There's not too many guys out there in the NBA who you can say plays like Lonzo Ball. But you can find a lot of copycats, a lot of mirrors, a lot of clones for that archetype, if you will, Don, that LaMelo Ball plays with.
Really great. Yeah, I'm gonna model a 2K character after it now. Now that I'm thinking about it, sounds really good.
You know, Leroy, in case you don't know, the PlayStation 5 is a very highly coveted toy. Very highly coveted toy, highly coveted gaming machine.
It's a toy.
Particularly, it's pretty much a toy. And you know, most of us either don't have time for video games or we simply do not choose to play it. Don, on the other hand, has been lucky enough to be one of the very, very few people to get the PlayStation 5 console very early. Yeah, very early. And he has been enjoying it, of course.
From time to time, when I get time. I don't have much
time to time. He is very into NBA 2K as well. He's been playing the latest 2K.
Oh yeah.
And,
I gotta tell you, my
uh-huh.
best player, still to this day, is none other than the greatest power forward center to ever play the game, Carlos Boozer. Coming
Oh my god.
in at a solid 93. 93 does not have any drive potential, but he has post game. He has post game, something that I'm not good at in the game. So I think it's a sign. I think it's a sign.
How do you use Boozer then? Do you just
He's just my big man. He's my boards. Like, cause what is it? My second best player is Morant, which is solid. He comes in actually at a solid 92 for what he is.
Mm-hmm.
So Boozer's basically my guy to pick up the garbage that Ja Morant throws up.
Wait, is this like a fantasy mode or something?
Yeah. So there's many modes in 2K, and the one that I'm currently getting into is called My Team. And what's great about it, and what the AI has sold me on, is that there's almost like a card collecting system built into it, where the more you play, or just over time, you get these packs of cards that have certain players in it, and it's based off of whatever algorithm that they use for trading card games, where it's randomized. So these players from across the history of the NBA tend to be in these packs depending on the theme. And none other than Ja Morant and Carlos Boozer, my two guys. Those are my two guys right now that I'm working with. The rest are all garbage. But when you got the two-man
kind
game,
of a throwback card gives Boozer a 94 rating. When is he ever a 94 rating player?
I forget. I think he was what was it? I think he was rocking a Magic jersey.
No. Utah.
It was blue.
He was
Was
Utah.
it blue? Oh, Utah. There we go.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah. So when he was younger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, to be honest, I was never really a fan of Boozer, but I recall back when Jerry Sloan, if you guys remember, was still the head coach of Utah. R.I.P. The duo that he was working with was Darren Williams, great point guard back in the day, and Carlos Boozer. They were like the modern day Stockton and Malone.
Yeah.
And they were like solidly in the playoffs for almost a decade, it seemed like. Pretty much when Leroy and I were in high school and even in undergrad a little bit, they were still a powerful duo. I think at times Boozer was an all-star. Sure. He was probably averaging close to 2010. Never really much of a defender. Leroy can correct me if I'm wrong about that, but I think he was never really that good at defense.
He was a big man.
But he's a big man, solid guy, strong, great post moves, like you said. Got a little bit of mid-range as well. I think he might have been on the Olympic roster once or twice as well. So sure. He's had a bit of a career, and probably the card that you got is the best version of Boozer ever. Like there is no higher rated Boozer.
It's tough, man. It's tough playing with them. He doesn't run in straight lines, man. I'm just saying, he doesn't run in straight. It's always
like a Zion. It's always kind of wobbles a little bit.
Yeah, it's always an arc. He's always ready for that hook, but I never give it to him. So...
Man, so I remember for a while that you had Brian Scalabrine too, right?
I do have Scalabrine. He clocks in at an 89. Solid 3 is what I use him for. And, of course, for the big man potential of just clogging up the lane. But ever since I got Boozer, he's been better defensively when it comes to 2K.
I like it. Now, of course, you mentioned Ja Morant. Unfortunately, Ja Morant in real life, he's been having some injury problems lately, and he's going to be out for about a month, maybe a little bit longer.
Is it serious? What was it?
Level 2 ankle sprain, I think.
Yeah, and someone of his speed and what he does, the angles he takes, it's kind of important.
So, Leroy, I know you are a fan of Ja Morant. You like his game. What do you think his ceiling is? Kind of projecting a little bit, because we are 2021, we're doing this thing. What do you think his ultimate potential is as a player?
I don't think he'll ever be an MVP kind of player, but he would be he can be the point guard of a contending team. I will say that. I don't know if he can be the the franchise player that leads you to championship, but he is definitely a core of that team.
Mm.
But
So do you,
he's gonna need like a sidekick that is probably as good as he is
If
in
not
order
better.
to, yeah, if not better, to win the championship.
so that begs the question. He has somebody who unfortunately is also injured right now, waiting in the wings, in Jaren Jackson Jr. What do you think of his game?
Oh, I love him.
Mm,
He shoots 3 block shots.
mm,
He doesn't get enough rebounds, so that's one of the downside that he
true,
needs to work on.
true.
But if he ever gets healthy, that's probably, I don't know. We all see how dominant Bam was last year because he's built differently. He can kind of handle the ball and he rebounds and stuff like that. I think Jaren Jackson Jr. is similar, but in a different way because he doesn't get enough rebound, but he can stretch the floor,
Mm-hmm.
which works really well next to Ja Morant.
Mm, mm.
So
Yeah,
they probably gonna need a third guy in Memphis in order to, build something that makes them a contending team.
I think you're right. Memphis seems like they may be closer to the Detroit Pistons in 2004, that type of formula, where it's not like they have a Kobe Bryant or Shaquille O'Neal type star, but collectively they can have a good team, a good roster with people individually who could be all stars coming together and becoming greater than the individual parts, right?
Mm.
Um, I like the fact that they have Jonas still. I think Jonas as a veteran center is really solid. He's kind of a steadying presence, and he can help Ja Morant in the pick and roll, or if he just needs like an outlet, somebody to throw the ball into the post to get a quick bucket. Valanciunas can be that guy. So it seems to me that they have some pieces, and even some younger guys like a Brandon Clark, right, getting the
Mm.
blocks, some rebounds here and there, complementary pieces that can work together. And they got another guy too, Delon Brooks. Is Brooks kind of a mainstay, or is he more like a journeyman waiting to happen? Like he'll probably be bounced around a few teams, kind of like a scorer, a little bit of a playmaker, but not really somebody you can build a franchise around, right?
Yeah, but I mean, his contract is pretty team friendly. He's on
Mm.
the books for 11.4 million for 3 more years.
Oh wow.
So if he's willing to sign for something similar or just a little bit more expensive down the road, I see them keeping him.
Mm.
So
Gotcha.
I feel like this is a team that, back to our Caris LeVert conversation,
Mm-hmm.
if they make a run for a guy like that, that might take their team to another level because
Mm.
it kind of works well with the trajectory with Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr.
Hmm.
But
And you're right. Sometimes you're right. Sometimes it is about these combinations of players doing really well together. Sometimes in a new team. Speaking of which, and I want to switch gears a little bit here. Chris Paul, he's now a Phoenix Sun, playing alongside Devin Booker. How do you think the Suns are going to do this year? Is this the first time Booker will taste the playoffs?
oh yeah, I think so for sure.
Mm, mm.
Didn't
You
they
think?
just? I
Yeah.
want to look at their game history. I think they just beat what team did they beat? Keep going. I'm gonna keep check. I'm gonna check their games first.
Yeah, no,
They just beat the Nuggets tonight by 3.
Oh wow, that's a great win. It's a big win.
Yeah.
Golly. Go ahead, Don. You're about to say.
no. I was just saying how much I love Booker. Booker's great. Big Dick Booker. He's known to having the biggest dick in the league, I think, according to some Twitter posts.
Yeah, I mean, I know those are the posts that you particularly like to
I
follow
mean, this
as
is
well.
why I draft. Okay, I don't draft on stats. Who does that? You know, I'm all about the personalities.
The
What I
off
like.
court.
There we
The
go.
off the court.
Always.
There
Always.
you go. I like it. I like it. No, I'm optimistic about the Suns. I think the combination of Booker, DeAndre Ayton, and Chris Paul, that to me is a winning combination. And when you surround that with an improved Mikal Bridges, who's kind of like the 3-and-D guy, you got some veteran wings like a Jay Crowder. You
Perfect.
got Cameron. There you go, Cameron Johnson coming up as well. I think you got the makings of a team that can at least contend for a playoff spot, like legitimately contend all throughout the season for a playoff spot. And you know with Chris Paul running the show, or at least partially running the show, he's not going to let this team fall behind too much. He'll find a way, as he usually does, getting every advantage possible to will this team into that 8th position or 7th position even. So I'm optimistic about that. I like that combination. So obviously we have new faces in different places. Another interesting point guard that has moved is John Wall. We haven't seen too much of John Wall on the Houston Rockets, but the one game return, the one game sample size, pretty good. Leroy, what do you feel about John Wall coming off of a 2-year hiatus from the NBA due to injuries? How do you feel about his chances on the Houston Rockets with Harden? Do you think that chemistry will last and Harden will stick around or not?
Well, I don't think it's up to John Wall's. Even if he's playing like an all-star level, I think Harden is done with the Houston Rockets.
Still, even though with these ridiculous games he's been having lately.
Well, he has to play well to be. Well, I guess everybody is still seeing him as a superstar, and he's just doing what he does as
to remain like marketable,
professional player. Yeah, but he doesn't have to be marketable. He's already marketable.
Sure.
So even if he's scoring like 5 points a game, I think people will still go after him because of what he is capable of.
Sure.
But I think the relationship has ended between Houston Rockets and James Harden.
Yeah, he's doing it to remain on the payroll.
Right. But I mean, I think John Wall is going to have a good season. If he doesn't injure again.
I certainly hope so. And I think he's going to be resting back-to-backs for the foreseeable future, just to kind of keep him fresh. But, you know, I can't help but ask you, Leroy, if Harden for sure is done with this team, where do you think is the best place for him to end up? Where do you think he should go?
Oh, I think the Houston Rockets should throw him. Send him to somewhere he doesn't want to go to.
Oh, I love that reply. I did not expect that.
Definitely. Don't send him to Brooklyn. It's not fun that way.
Give him the Kawhi treatment. Fuck.
I mean, even if Brooklyn gives them like 3-4 first round pick with that squad, like what is that? What are those picks gonna do? Like,
sure,
it's not really beneficial for Houston, especially when Harden is tied up for another 2 to 3 years. They have the upper hand, so trade him to somewhere really sucks, like a Cleveland or whatever.
Oh, that would be dirty. That would be really dirty. Like,
That'd be great.
Can you imagine, like, out of all the cities, Harden has to go to Cleveland, where there's like nothing.
Yeah.
And he's not gonna want to stay there. Like, there's no way he's gonna want to stay there. So he might be just, half-assing it over there, waiting for his time, demanding for another trade,
losing value, but, missing his prime.
That's the thing, though. I don't think that would even happen, because usually for these superstar trades, I kind of just read about some of these rumors from like Shams Charania or Adrian Wojnarowski. Before a superstar gets traded to the team that he's going to, sometimes they have a conversation with the star just to kind of get a feeling, like, hey, we want to trade for you. Like, would you be okay with that, or would you want out? And if the star is upfront and he says, I can't see myself being there beyond the season, or I can't find myself being there happy, then they won't do it. Because think about it, why would you do that, right? Why would you give up all of these assets and get Harden, and he's just going to get fat, as Don said, and just go to all the like the one strip club in Cleveland and just spend all this time there?
It's a really good one,
right?
Okay.
I'm sure you've been there. I'm sure you've been there on Tuesday nights, right? Like getting ready for the Wednesday show, getting inspiration for the Wednesday show. But I would have to say, I think Brooklyn doesn't make sense to me completely. Why mess up whatever's happening over there with Kyrie and KD? I think they have a bunch of young guns that can complement Kyrie and KD. See where it goes. You don't really need a Harden on top of that. You don't really need a dominant high usage player to add to that mix. It doesn't make sense for me. I think it would be interesting for him to go to, let's see, Philadelphia for Ben Simmons would be interesting, because I think the combination of Harden and Joel Embiid may be enough to make it out of the East. I think it's a very interesting combination there. I also like Harden going to the Clippers. I don't know if they can do that, but Harden to the Clippers for either Kawhi or Paul George, one of those two. Because when you do that, you finally get like a dominant playmaking guard, right? Because Paul George and Kawhi aren't really playmakers in the traditional sense. They can get dimes if they need to. They're more just scorers and elite wings, right? If you have Harden with an elite wing, that's money. That is money right there. And that could actually challenge the Lakers, in my opinion, if they can, keep Ibaka playing well as he has been. If he can keep Lou Williams playing at a high rate, he's been kind of bad this year, not getting enough minutes either. But they have all the pieces there. I feel like all they need is like a Harden type player to really push them over the hump. But there's many different options for the Rockets. I'm sure they can take their time and go with whatever feels right. They may not be in a rush, but one thing we can all agree on: Harden will still be James Harden wherever he ends up. He'll likely be putting in 30-point games, 10 assists, close to 10 rebounds, just a monster straight up. Now,
speaking to your Clippers scenario, Paul George cannot be traded prior to the trade deadline this year because he just signed an extension with the Clippers.
Interesting.
And the restriction expires on April 8th, but the NBA trade deadline is March 25th this year.
Got it. So Paul George is not being traded. Maybe Kawhi. I think Kawhi is somebody to me who cannot be trusted in terms of loyalty, right? I mean, he's proven that. I think he will pretty much go wherever he feels he has the best shot to win a title, if he can control it in that way. And especially now, he certainly can. So if the Clippers know that, and the Clippers are willing to part ways with people like they did with Doc Rivers, like they did with Blake Griffin before then, which ended up being a wise decision, I think it's the right move to bet on a Harden more so than a Kawhi Leonard. Harden's less injury prone. He doesn't need maintenance days like Kawhi. I'd do it. I think it's a solid move. But with that being said, and we're getting close to the hour mark, so I want to wrap up with a couple of quick fire for you. Leroy, a couple of quick fire questions. I hope you're down for this. Let's go ahead and predict the Rookie of the Year. Who do you think it'll be?
Ooh, that's a good question. Let me see the list of rookies this year.
Obi Toppin. It's gonna be Obi.
How is he doing?
He's hurt.
Is he injured?
Yeah, he's hurt. Yeah. Who's another one? Halliburton might be up there.
Patrick Williams, is he doing good on the Chicago Bulls?
Don does not know who that is.
I wish we could talk to B-Rad right now.
I wish we could. B-Rad's the only one that knows anything about him. I think he's doing okay. But really, the guys you're looking at is probably James Wiseman, Anthony Edwards, and LaMelo Ball. Those are the top 3 picks of this year.
So far.
Halliburton, as Don mentioned, he's been getting some playing time as well. And there's some others that have been getting some playing time, contributing as a rookie. But I think it's hard this year, man. It's just really hard to say. I don't think there's a clear-cut guy. But what does your heart say, Leroy?
My heart says...
It's also Killian Hayes.
Might be LaMelo, actually.
Wow.
Depends on if they trade any of Devontae Graham or what was the other one?
Terry Rozier.
Yeah. If
Good
we
point.
get the starting nod, I feel like he might be able to do some impact. Because Anthony Edwards, as talented as he is, first we know he's not into basketball. The second of all, Minnesota is just a mess.
Yes.
I'm quoting you.
Yes. Don, in case you don't know, whenever there's like a very messy rotation where it's kind of hard to predict who's going to pop off every night,
sure,
I like to call that team a mess. Denver used to be a mess for me. Miami used to be a mess for me. Now Minnesota for sure is a mess because, as you know, Anthony Edwards, you like the guy, but you don't know exactly. Ant-Man, sure. Only you call him that. But you don't know whether he's going to do well any given night. He might average about 15 points a night.
Which is fine.
You never know.
What about Wiseman then?
I don't think Wiseman has a chance to be Rookie of the Year because he won't get enough playing time to make a difference.
He's actually starting.
Yep. He's starting, but he's not. Well. Yeah.
He actually has the best odds according to the lines too.
Well, those lines are wrong, I'm afraid to say, and you should probably not quote those lines at all.
Throwing it out there.
Well, you know, I agree with Leroy's sentiment though. I think LaMelo Ball has the best chance. Next question: Defensive Player of the Year. Last year, it was none other than Giannis Antetokounmpo. Who do you think will get DPOY this year?
Drew Holiday.
Drew Holiday.
Ooh,
Look at that.
don't know. It's hard to say right now. The defensive game is kind of different this year.
Mm, 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 mm.
Like back then, we see Ben Wallace, we see Rudy Gobert. Like they just block shots and alter shots. But like
Mhm.
with the game shifting beyond the 3-point lines, is kind of different now. No, maybe Bam.
That's what I was thinking. Bam.
Yeah.
If Embiid picks up his game.
Well, to be fair, Gobert is always like a top 2 candidate
Oh, for sure.
for DPOY, so he's still going to be in the mix probably.
AD.
80's in the mix. 80 was second, I think, last year. So yeah, I think you got some usual suspects in AD and Gobert. Maybe Bam, if he can pick up his defensive output a little bit. I can see him. I can see Giannis, if he can pick it up as well, he could be in the conversation. So it's hard to say, but since this is quick fire, Leroy, if you have to pick one, you're thinking Bam?
Bam.
Bam, there we go. Next question. Who do you think will be coach of the year?
Who's Denver Nuggets coach?
Jokic? No.
Malone, no?
I forget. Yeah, it might be Malone. Might be
Malone? Yeah. Maybe him.
Maybe him. I'm actually
Him-
thinking. I'm thinking it might be the Phoenix Suns coach, man. I think it might be Monty Williams. That's my pick.
About Steve Nash.
Oh. Depends how
I
far
don't
they
think
go.
they. I don't think they'd give it to him. I think even if they make the because it's like, first year coach. Obviously, the situation is very different there with KD coming back, Kyrie there healthy. It's hard to really attribute all that success to Steve Nash. So because of that fact, I think you look at a Monty Williams. Yes, granted they got Chris Paul, but also I think they like Monty Williams over there. I think all the players seem to buy into whatever system he's running, whatever scheme he's running. So my pick would be Monty. You're thinking what, Leroy? You're thinking Malone, right? From Nuggets? Yeah. Got it. All right, final question before we wrap it up for the night. Who will be the Kia 2021 MVP?
Let me see. Who was it last year?
Giannis.
I think AD this year.
Oh.
Really?
I hope.
Yeah.
Really? I can't help but wonder. I don't think AD does enough to really warrant an MVP.
I don't think he is respected enough.
Like, if you just look at his production, yeah, he's great. Don't get me wrong, but you really think AD can do enough to win MVP?
Well, yeah. I actually like him as a player more than Giannis.
Oh, but
He's
yet
more
you drafted Giannis over AD though.
because I want a fun team.
But is it fun so far? I feel like Giannis isn't doing very well for you in fantasy. But he did well today. You're right. He did better today. You're right. I take
He is
that back.
consistent. Let's put it that way. He's not
All
as
right.
consistent as AD is. Which,
Very good.
if you put it in the MVP conversation, which you need a consistency from your MVP.
Well said. Well said. So we got AD closing out Leroy's predictions for 2021. Now, before we let you go, we always ask our guests this one final question.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have fun today, Leroy?
Oh, I have fun because when we first talked, I thought we were not live so, for the first 10 minutes. So I was just talking, and then I was like, "Oh shoot, we actually live."
That's a slippery D working the behind the scenes.
That was
magic right there.
totally me right there. Yeah, that was. We even have the intro music queued up and everything, man. That's why I was late joining the studio. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I thought it was just late, and then you just came on and started talking.
Oh no, that was part of the plan, my man. Part of the plan.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well played.
Thank you. Very good, Don. Now, I think, Don, usually I do the outro, but I want you to do the outro for this one. I think you earned it.
No, I'm gonna let Leroy, our guest, do it.
What's the outro?
Go ahead, Leroy. So
we usually
outro is
sing a song, our favorite song of the moment, and then we kind of riff off of that. Like A will come in with a solid 8 bars after that, and
I can't sing because I'm gonna wake up my daughter, and you guys will be in trouble. So Don,
Don, take it away. Don, I think we both want you to do the outro
this
today.
is the SoCal DNA signing off tonight. I don't really know what we talked about too much because I've been drinking a hell of a lot while you guys are schooling me on everything NBA. But Leroy, hey, we thank you from the bottom of our hearts. We could think of no better guest to start this new year. and new season of the NBA to have. So we thank you for gracing us with your time. We hope that your daughter sleeps well as everyone that is listening to this podcast, listening to the A talk way too much sometimes. But until next time, thank you guys.
Hey, thanks for having me. Take care, guys. Happy New Year.